September 11th, 2001. Two planes hit the World Trade Center. Thousands of Americans dead. The world asked, why do they hate us? Politicians gave simple answers. They hate freedom. They hate democracy. But the truth was buried almost half a century earlier. 1953. A secret operation so classified, it took 60 years for the documents to be revealed. An operation that destroyed a democracy in just 4 days, installed a brutal dictator, and lit the fuse of today's Middle East crisis. Its name, Operation Ajax, the CIA's first successful coup, and the story the US government tried to erase from history. Iran, 1951. Dr. Mohammad Mossadegh becomes prime minister through free elections. He was no radical. Mossadegh was a lawyer, a Democrat, a nationalist. Time magazine named him Man of the Year. But Mossadegh believed something dangerous, almost heretical for the West, that Iran's oil belonged to Iranians. For decades, the Anglo-Iranian Oil Company, today known as BP, pumped billions in profit out of Iran's soil, while leaving only scraps behind. Iran received just 16% of the revenue from its own natural resources. Families lived in poverty, while Britain fueled its empire on cheap Iranian oil. Mossadegh stood up and said, no more. In 1951, he nationalized the oil industry. For Britain, it was theft. For Iran, it was independence. Winston Churchill himself ordered retaliation. Iranian oil workers were blockaded, their shipments sabotaged. But Mossadegh would not bend. He told the world, we are not your slaves, our oil is ours. Britain was outraged. Without Iran, their economy was collapsing, their empire crumbling, and so they turned to their closest ally, the United States. At first, Washington refused, until the British whispered one word that Americans in 1953 could not ignore: communism. The Cold War was at its peak. In every shadow, Washington saw Moscow, and the British played on that paranoia. They told Eisenhower Mossadegh was drifting toward the Soviet Union. If Iran fell, the whole Middle East and its oil would be communist. It was a lie. Mossadegh despised communists. He banned their rallies, censored their papers. But in Washington, fear overrode facts. Eisenhower believed it. And so, for the first time in American history, the CIA was ordered to overthrow a foreign democracy. The man chosen to lead the mission was Kermit Roosevelt Jr., grandson of President Theodore Roosevelt. His code name, Ajax. The plan, simple, ruthless, and cheap. $1 million, 1 week. Tools, propaganda, bribes, staged riots. The goal, make it look like the Iranian people themselves wanted Mossadegh gone. By August, Roosevelt had entered Tehran with suitcases of cash, lists of agents, and the blessing of Washington. Operation Ajax had begun. August 15, 1953, day one of Operation Ajax. CIA-paid mobs stormed the streets of Tehran. They waved signs, chanted slogans, burned effigies of Mossadegh. But the people saw through the charade. These weren't patriots. They were thugs, drunks, men hired with American dollars. Ordinary Iranians fought back. Beatings erupted in the streets. Instead of weakening Mossadegh, the fake riots made him stronger. He appeared on radio, calm, reassuring, declaring he would protect democracy. Within hours, the CIA's crowds had scattered. Roosevelt called Washington in panic. The mission has failed. Evacuate immediately. Headquarters agreed. The operation was to be abandoned. But Roosevelt refused. He was not ready to lose, not ready to explain failure to Eisenhower. He had one card left, the Shah. Mohammad Reza Pahlavi, the young Shah of Iran, was little more than a ceremonial monarch. Mossadegh had stripped him of real power. Roosevelt convinced him to act. On August 19th, pro-Shah military units launched their coup. Tanks rolled into Tehran, streets filled with chaos. For 9 brutal hours, the city was torn apart. Pro-Mossadegh militias fought in alleys and rooftops. Pro-Shah officers seized radio stations in government buildings. At one point, Mossadegh's supporters had the upper hand, but the CIA intervened with its final weapon, electricity. Power was cut to pro-Mossadegh neighborhoods, silencing their radios and plunging them into darkness. Meanwhile, pro-Shah areas remained lit, alive, emboldened. As the sun set, the city broke. Mossadegh was captured, his cabinet was jailed. Iran's fragile democracy was dead. The Shah declared absolute rule. The CIA celebrated. For the first time, America had toppled a foreign government in the shadows. What they didn't realize was the monster they had created. For the next 25 years, the Shah ruled Iran with an iron fist. His secret police, Savak, trained and funded by the CIA, tortured thousands. Dissidents disappeared in the night, but the West didn't care. Iranian oil flowed again, cheap and abundant. To Washington, it was a success until 1979. The Iranian people erupted in revolution. After decades of repression, the Shah fled. In his place, Ayatollah Khomeini rose to power. His first words as leader, "Death to America, death to the great Satan." Americans were stunned. They asked, why do they hate us? But Iranians remembered 1953. They remembered Operation Ajax. They remembered 25 years of dictatorship imposed from abroad, the hostage crisis, the Iran-Iraq war, terrorism, nuclear ambitions. Every crisis that haunts the Middle East traces back to that summer of 1953. And the CIA learned the wrong lesson. After Ajax, they repeated the formula. Guatemala 1954, Chile 1973, Nicaragua, Iraq. Over and over, democracy was replaced with dictatorship, and each time America made more enemies. In 2000, the CIA finally declassified documents confirming its role in Operation Ajax. The world read in black and white what had been denied for decades. America had destroyed Iran's democracy for oil. Kermit Roosevelt, the architect of Ajax, died in 2000. In his memoirs, he wrote, "I am proud of what we accomplished." But he did not live to see the full consequences. Today, nearly 70 years later, Iran and America remain bitter enemies. And at the root of that hatred is not religion, not culture, not freedom, but 4 days in August 1953. 4 days that shaped the modern Middle East. 4 days that proved democracy can be murdered in the dark. The next time you hear about chaos in the Middle East, ask yourself, was it destiny or was it engineered? And if the CIA could erase a democracy in 4 days, what else has been erased from history? History is full of buried secrets and hidden truths. Subscribe to discover more stories that change the world forever.